Hi, everybody. You're listening to Radio Cherry Bomb, and I'm your host, Kerry Diamond, coming to you from New York City. Today's episode is part of The New Home, a special miniseries we're doing in partnership with Fisher Paykel. Over the past few weeks, I've been fortunate to interview some amazing women about their lives, their kitchens, and their inspiring careers. Today, I'm talking to Mariana Velásquez. Mariana's new book is titled Revel, a Maximalist's Guide to Having People Over, and it's filled with Mariana's lush approach to life. There are gorgeous recipes and dreamy tablescapes, all photographed by the amazing Gentl Hyers. Mariana joins me in just a minute to talk about her new book and all the creativity that went into it, but also how the end of her marriage impacted the process. With just a week left before the manuscript deadline, she had to rewrite parts of the book to reflect her new reality. Those of you who attended Jubilee the other week heard Mariana's moving talk on the subject. Thank you to Mariana for her bravery and honesty. I know a lot of people in the room were very moved by what she had to say. We'll be airing her Jubilee talk following this interview. We also chat about her work with Gentl Hyers, how she became one of the leading food stylists around, the realities of a small kitchen, not easy when you're a maximalist, and some of her favorite recipes from the book. Be sure to check out our Substack for an excerpt from Revel, and stay tuned for my chat with Mariana Velásquez. Today's episode is brought to you by Fisher Paykel. The best kitchens don't start with appliances or layouts. They start with people. How you move through a space, how you cook, how you host, how you connect. For more than 90 years, Fisher Paykel has believed in designing for real lives, creating appliances that integrate seamlessly into the architecture of your home, giving you the freedom to design a kitchen that feels intuitive, personal, and effortless. It's not just choosing finishes or appliances, but creating a space that works in harmony with how you live. At the center of it all is something Fisher Paykel calls design freedom, the ability to move beyond standard layouts and create a kitchen tailored to you. Fisher Paykel knows that no two homes are the same, just as no two cooks are the same. A well-designed kitchen doesn't just look beautiful. It supports a life well lived. To learn more about the world of Fisher Paykel and their incredible appliances, from ovens to cooktops, refrigerators, dishwashers, and washing machines, visit fisherpaykel.com. Quick reminder, today is our May member meeting on Zoom with special guest Catherine Lewin, the founder of Big Night, the delightful houseware shops here in New York and online. The meeting is taking place at 3 p.m. EST on Zoom and is for our paid Substack subscribers. If you're a subscriber and haven't registered yet, check your email. Not a subscriber? There's still time to join. Just visit cherrybomb.substack.com. The link is in our show notes. Our CEO, Kate Miller-Spencer, will be interviewing Catherine about her career, what's next with Big Night, and what makes a great brand. Now, let's check in with today's guest. Mariana Velásquez, welcome to Radio Cherry Bomb.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, it's so nice to have you back on the show. You have a beautiful new project to talk about, and we're going to jump right into it. Very different from your last project. Mm-hmm. This is a cookbook called Revel, a Maximalist Guide to Having People Over. Love the subtitle. I love everything about the book. It's so reflective of you and the place you occupy in this industry. Mm-hmm. You're a food stylist. Now you're a 2-time author, but you also are so stylish, and that really comes through in the book.
Thank you.
Such a different project from Colombiana. I mean, Colombiana was a love letter to an entire country. Mm-hmm. When you decided you were going to do book number 2, why did you go in this direction?
Several reasons, but the main one was that the response that I received from readers that would cook from Colombiana and express what they were making and share on Instagram or send me letters, a lot of them were making the full menus from chapter 3, where I celebrated regional menus of the country. And I gave people an insight of what the region looks like, what it sounds like, what the florals are. So I was surprised. I didn't think people would cook entire menus. It's also the way I think about food. I don't think about isolated recipes, but how they come together as a whole.
Oh, that's so interesting. Wait, say that again. You don't think about isolated recipes.
Yeah, I don't think about isolated recipes.
I think about isolated recipes because I love a recipe. Interesting. Is that because of your food stylist background or your love of entertaining? A little bit of both?
I think it's both. And so I thought I'm going to write this book that also includes every time of day. Colombiana was very much structured like that too. And I think it's my food styling eye it's all about the light, and how we experience the table and company changes dramatically depending on where we are and what the space feels like.
So much pride was directed towards you from people who were from Colombia or of Colombian heritage. How was that?
I mean, it was really scary because I felt so responsible, right? Am I the right person to write this book? Do I have the authority and the knowledge? So I made it very much about my experience of Colombian food. I didn't write about recipes or regions that I hadn't experienced. I talked about them, but I was very frank about, because of the history of the country, there's so many places that I haven't been to just because of security and different parts of the conflicts. So it was scary, but then when I started to read and hear from people of how excited they were, it was just, I can't even begin to tell you how it feels still. And then Revel, I think, is a reflection of who I've been in the last 20 years too. It's the life that I have crafted here in the U.S. It's the style that I have developed. It's the way I cook with some Colombianity into it, but very European, very Mediterranean, American, because that's who I am as a cook and that's how I host.
So the through line is that they're so personal to you. You kindly spoke at Jubilee. Every Jubilee is my favorite Jubilee, but there's something so special about each one. And I'm still kind of processing,
I can imagine,
the recent Jubilee. But your talk was so moving to so many people. I didn't really get to see you afterward because I was kind of stage managing. So many people, though, afterward told me how moved they were by what you spoke about. What was the reception like for you? I'm guessing you were a little mobbed afterwards.
Yeah, people came to say the loveliest things. A couple of people said, this is going to make me cry, that they had a decision to make and they haven't had the courage and they feel like they can now. It was really moving and I wasn't prepared. I sort of wanted to hide. I was like, oh my God, what did I do?
Right,
but
you probably had to go right into a book signing.
But then because it was a book signing, people stopped and talked to me. I don't know, when we have that possibility to connect with humans like that, it's so unique.
I thought you were incredibly brave to talk about what you talked about. And regular listeners of the show know we often talk about how tough it is to write a cookbook, right? But you only really know that if you write a cookbook. They're sort of brutal to work on because you have a condensed period of time, all the recipe testing, just everything. And there's real pressure to make it perfect because it's in print. It's not a recipe online that you can fix. You had the added challenge of this being so reflective of your life and your marriage. And then when it was clear that was ending right around the deadline for your book, you had to make some decisions. And that's what you spoke about on stage at Jubilee. One of my big questions for you is, how did you have the bravery to both write and speak about something so personal? I mean, we talk about cookbooks being personal, but that takes it to another level.
I think I had to share it because it's what saved me. Really, as hard as that process was, sitting at the table and changing all the pronouns and deleting his name and restructuring the introduction. It was cathartic, but it also helped me reclaim my story. And it gave me a certainty that the future would be different and that I was responsible for it. So I didn't feel like a victim, right? I didn't feel that I was in someone else's hands and now my life was ruined. It gave me that. And so I felt I had to share it because there is a future and there is something on the other side. Some people may need to hear that.
Tell people a little bit about your talk. You just kind of referenced it a little bit, but what was the gist of the talk that you gave at Jubilee?
So the talk was about finding that my marriage was imminently over and having 7 days to turn in my first manuscript, the first delivery, which is also, for those not in the cookbook world, is where you get paid for the first time, right? It's that first paycheck of delivery. I sat and started changing the book and changing, our home when we host, our space, our parties to my. I mean, I couldn't deny some of the chapters and recipes that told stories of parties we hosted. Like the party on a rooftop in Williamsburg where he invited 1 million people. And it was like, who are all these people? And he didn't want food. And I'm like, we have to have food. It's like, what do you mean? So I had made this gazpacho and he comes around and he's like, why are you serving gazpacho? No one's asking for gazpacho. So, my friend Anna jokes that it's like the gazpacho and no one saw coming. And it was a really fun party with like kid food, just like popcorn and chicken wings and the things that he loved. And so, of course, I want to keep that because it also tells a good story and a story of who I am and how I host and how I could be highbrow and lowbrow. And so going back to the Jubilee, I explained that process of reshaping, retelling the story, honoring the past, but also moving on and saying that friends save me and realizing that I can also have people over in my tiny apartment where I'm now. I used to have a whole brownstone in Bed-Stuy with, a 12-seat dining table, a huge backyard, a proper kitchen. And now I have a tiny one-bedroom. And I still invite friends over because it's not about the 12 place settings and perfection. And that really liberated me because I am a perfectionist in recovery.
Are you sure you're in recovery?
I am. I promise.
I think you're still a little bit of a perfectionist, but in a good way. You mentioned it took your friends to kind of shake you out of this. You talked about one friend who was so bummed that she hadn't made any birthday plans for herself, and you swooped into the rescue.
Yeah. I said, okay, come over. And then I regretted it because I didn't have anything in the fridge. Nothing, I didn't have enough plates or bowls. I had packed the essentials, coffee, wine, a couple bowls. That was it that I brought with me out of storage. But when I felt responsible to embrace her, then I just pulled it off. And with my friend Gayleen, we jumped in the car, went and got the princess cake at San Ambrose, and then went to the fish shop and the bakery and just made the rounds and prepped this dinner in a second. And yeah, it was what it was.
Yeah. It's so funny. Living in New York, I'm part of the tiny apartment club as well. It is sometimes hard to have people over. I don't know, especially like with the loneliness epidemic and everything. It's so worth making the effort. Yeah. And order pizza.
Exactly.
I really think just like pizza and a bottle of wine, or if you're not drinking, whatever you're drinking, I feel like there aren't a lot of people who make the effort anymore.
That's true. Also, there's a fear, right? Because everything's documented and put out in the world. So it's like, is it Instagram perfect? First of all, I think parties should begin to become private again. If you're not there, you don't get to see.
I was just going to say that we need to start to impose a no phone rule for things.
Because it's like, it's intimate. We're there, we're gathered. I also understand that it's a way to honor people cooking and like you want to show their food, and it has to be real and authentic.
Yeah.
And it's about getting together, not about the food necessarily. Even though, I live for food. But yeah.
And for photos.
And for photos.
You are a food stylist, after all. All right, we'll go back to your beautiful book. Were you confiding in your editor? I'm just thinking of the practicality of, oh my God, I'm going to have to rewrite this and it's due in a few days.
So I first called my agent, Anna Worrell, who has held my hand through the entire process, knows me personally, we've become friends. I called her and she was the first person I told. Before anyone in my family, I told her. And she said, do what you need to do. If there are questions from 10 speed, we'll address them. But turn the manuscript as you want to see it. This is the time. Don't wait for the second run of edits, because then there's an explanation to give. Gabby and Kelly at 10 speed, they were so supportive, but also so polite. Nobody really asked me. And that felt so respectful and kind. And I haven't even thought about it and said it out loud. But yes, it was they embraced me by not asking.
And just so people understand how a book works, you explain the payment thing. That's a big deal. People need to get paid for all this work they do on their cookbooks. And it's broken up into parts. Did you do the manuscript first and then the shoot? Or were you doing things consecutively?
They were both done. The shoot was also done. So imagine all the photos. And Diego's a very handsome man, so he was in every single one. So sorting through the photographs. No. If changing the pronouns was painful, the photograph part was miserable.
I'm so sorry. God. I thought, because some people turn in the manuscript and then they do the photo shoot.
Right.
No,
this was all at once. But, at the same time, Gentl Hyers, who shot the book and traveled with us everywhere, it's just, we have this amazing material. We have these incredible images from our life. And what I decided, because the book originally was going to have way more people in it, by choosing how to do it, I decided to keep people minimal. And then I did portraits of friends who attended all the parties.
How much time did you have between turning in the manuscript to today?
So that manuscript was in December 7th, 2024.
You've had some time.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering how it's been having to go around and promote the book, knowing how heavy the process was for you.
I mean, I think if I hadn't done what I did, promoting the book now would feel like it's a stranger's book, right? It wouldn't have felt mine. It would have felt like a lie. So the fact that I have had this time and also some space with the text, right? I mean, lately going on interviews, I've been going back and rereading what I wrote and re-remembering things that I'm like, oh my God, yes, that's right, I wrote that. Getting that space from your own work sort of gives it an air and an evolution.
Yeah.
And so it feels amazing. I'm really proud of it. It's really me. It's really me. You know how sometimes projects evolve and there's a separation? No, this book truly reflects who I am.
Mm-hmm. We don't really think of cookbooks as self-help books.
Right.
But as you mentioned, all the people who came up to you after, you spoke at Jubilee, that relationships falling apart is such a fact and messy and not necessarily something, people pick up a cookbook to read about. Although, I don't know, maybe that's changing. I'm thinking of Tanya Bush's Will This Make You Happy?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's going to be a trend toward way more personal cookbooks.
I read Nora Ephron's Heartburn. That is kind of a cookbook. Of course, she talks about recipes throughout. And wow, talk about like heartbreak and cooking and brilliant.
Did you read that as you were working on your own?
I read that, yes, as I was doing the second and third pass.
Did someone recommend that to you?
Yeah, my friend Gayleen gifted it to me. She's like, you need to read this.
It is a great book and a great movie.
I've been saving the movie because I love the book so much that I sort of wanted to give it a little space before I see a movie.
Mm-hmm. I miss Nora Ephron. I wish she was still around to comment on this crazy world we live in. Was it thrilling to work with Gentl Hyers?
I mean, they're such rock stars, their sophistication in taste, in light, in consideration for others. They run this set in a way that's like, there's a finesse and a professionalism that goes beyond, but kindness comes first. They really take care of their people, and I admire that. Yeah, no, it was so fun, especially because with Colombiana, we had to shoot it all in Brooklyn.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
that was not the plan.
Not the plan.
Mm-hmm.
We had a trip planned to Colombia in April 2020, which naturally was canceled. And we had to turn in the images by August, and Colombia's borders were still closed. And so we shot Colombiana in Brooklyn, which a lot of people don't believe. They're like, this really feels like it's Colombia, like this light. And so Marty would always, every time he saw me, he's like, Mariana, when are we going to Colombia? And I was like, Marty, I promise we'll go. And so with Revel, we went. And we shot in Bogota, in different places, then in Cartagena. And we spent a week there shooting, and then we came back and shot here in Manhattan, and then upstate in Connecticut and other places. So working with them, and also remember that every party, what we shot with real people, we were hosting with them, It was really, with the Brooklyn brunch, for instance. That day we photographed the whole menu with the kids and all the guests, plus a couple additional things that we needed for chapter openers. And so, yeah, those days were wild.
You don't take the easy way out, do you?
No.
Ever?
No.
You could have just done one dish at a time. But like you told us, you think in terms of menus and people. I forgot about the pandemic at Colombiana and how that changed the book. These books are not easy for you.
No.
There's always something.
There's always
when
something.
you do a book. It's such a beautiful book. Just the props alone. Where did you get all those plates and napkins and linens? And did you have a prop stylist?
I didn't.
Oh my gosh.
I don't really know how I did it. In retrospect, it was wild. So there were homes, especially, for instance, the home in Cartagena where the Rosa lunch takes place. It's my friend Lizzie's beautiful home, so she had everything. She had this china that is Colombian made, and every year they feature an artist to do the collection. And she had collections from the 70s, from the early 2000s. Incredible, incredible collections. I had access to beautiful props. And sometimes it was a little bit of a wild bet, right? Because what if the house didn't have good things? But I brought some things with me in Bogota when we shot the big lunch with the fresh bean soup. I brought things from my mom's.
I was just going to say, well, your mom is over there, but how many suitcases did you have to bring?
Oh my God, several. Plus the clothes, plus all the things. But so my mom is in Bogota, and we packed everything to take to this house. And this is the lunch where my mother's there, my stepdad, my dad. So it's like 14 people. And I realized I did not pack wine glasses. So this house that had some stuff also had the brandy wine glass or glass, just a combination of things and that's how we had to just set it up. That was it, with whatever was there.
One picture is more gorgeous than the next. And I love that you have the word maximalist in there because that really is your style.
Yeah.
Has that always been you?
Always. Yes. More is more. Not afraid of color. I love layers. I combine textures. Yeah, I really like when a table or what you're wearing tells a story of who you are. That authenticity matters to me.
Let's talk about a few recipes in here. I, of course, landed on the cherry cardamom ricotta cake immediately. Of course, that's the first one I land on. Tell us about that one.
So, cherries are so fleeting. We get them for such a short time. I wanted to make a cake where I soaked the cherries in red vermouth. And then I made this very easy dough with whole wheat bread flour so that it's almost like pudding. So very much inspired by clafouti, the French dessert where you soak stone fruit in a liqueur and then you bake a custard. So this is more cakey. It's quite nutty. It has the cardamom, which very much reminds me of my grandmother. I love that recipe. And I feel that it's absolutely worthwhile to just pit the cherries with your hands. We get to do it so little in life.
That's true.
It's like, yes, take the time to pit the cherries.
When you say it's so fleeting, you're talking about actual cherry season.
Right.
Can you make this with frozen cherries? I know it changes the texture.
No, you could. It may make the cake a little more, I don't know if watery, but it will change the texture, but I think it could work.
So seek out fresh cherries.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And be careful what you're wearing.
Exactly.
Because that cherry juice
Wear
gets
an apron.
everywhere. OXO has a really good cherry pitter.
Yes,
do you own that? I
do.
have that. And sometimes, back to our tiny kitchens, I have to consider every single thing I bring into my kitchen because there is no space. And I'm always like, I use that cherry pitter for like 2 weeks every year. Do I need it? And I'm like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
It really does the job.
Yeah, it does. I own it too.
Tell us another recipe you love in this book.
I love making these rolled omelette filled with sheep's milk cheese, greens, and lemon curd. I beat the eggs and bake them on a sheet pan lined with parchment paper.
Oh, how interesting.
So it becomes like a 1/4 inch thick layer.
So almost like a crepe.
Almost like a crepe. And then you take it out, put all the toppings inside, and then roll it while it's still warm. And it's a brilliant way to serve eggs for many people.
I never thought about doing it on a sheet pan. Wow. And it must cook in no time.
In no time. And I learned this technique when I was styling one of Katie Lee's cookbooks many moons ago. And I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. It's the way I want to serve eggs. It's really yummy. And then the combination of the salty sheep's milk cheese and the lemon curd and the greens. It's really good.
Huh.
Yeah.
Do you roll it like a Swiss roll cake?
Exactly like a Swiss roll cake.
It must be so beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Oh,
yeah.
Now I'm thinking of lots of things to do, like a soft cheese and salmon
Yeah,
and
exactly.
herbs.
Or Gruyere and ham. And
and it must look so pretty when it's sliced.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make that. All right. What else?
What else? Bueno, salt roast chicken. I think the pillars of my life are red lips and roast chicken and red wine, for better or worse. This roast chicken, first of all, I worked at Prune in the early 2000s.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I cooked on the line with Gabrielle
Hamilton, yeah.
Right. From
the legend.
2001 to 2002 and a half. And she had this great roast chicken that she served with toasted bread and the jus. And then I was obsessed with Judy Rogers' roast chicken and her whole recipe with bread and the bread salad.
From Zuni Cafe.
Exactly, in San Francisco. And so roast chicken has always been ever present in my cooking. So my sister-in-law, who lived in Malaysia and many places in the world because she was a diplomat, came back to Colombia, and one day she served us this roast chicken that was the juiciest, most decadent, delicious. So she told me that she baked it in salt, on a bed of salt. And I tried the recipe and, of course, modified it a little because hers didn't have any color. I browned mine, and anyway, just because of the visuals. But that recipe is a hit every time. And so it's one of my favorites.
Walk us through it, because I know the fish baked in salt, but fish is flatter, smaller.
Right.
Are you spatchcocking the chicken? What are you doing?
So it's whole, but so then I do about an inch of kosher salt on a sheet pan with parchment paper, because otherwise washing it is a pain.
You love your sheet pans and your parchment paper.
I love, exactly. And I wet the salt a little so that it's like sand, and lay the chicken down, like breast side down, and then bake it for about a half an hour.
And you coat the rest of it? The exposed parts with salt? No, just the breast
just the
into
breast
the
side
salt.
down.
Okay.
Correct. And then I flip it over and then finish baking it or roasting it. And that's when it gets the color. And for some reason, it makes the meat very, very juicy.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love to do roast chicken on a bed of like vegetables and onions and shallots and things like that. So I guess you forego that, but you get the flavor.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, so interesting. Okay. We talked about all the beautiful plates, linens, everything in here. You have your own collection that you did with Sur La Table.
Yes.
It'll be available through the summer. Tell us about it.
So I was doing a food styling job for Revel in Seattle at the Sur La Table offices. And I was wearing one of my aprons. You know, I was just like...
Oh, right, your beautiful apron line. Is it?
It's still there. It's Casa Velásquez. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
And I was walking through the office to go from point A to point B. You know, my apron has a long tail, so it's quite dramatic. And the brand director saw me and she's like, "Who are you and what are you wearing? And let's have a conversation." So it was love at first sight. Her name is Kristen. And we had a wrap dinner that evening, and she came and she asked me, like, "So, Mariana, what's your dream?" And I said, my dream is having a collection, you know, created and distributed by a major retailer. I've been doing my own brand for many years, where I design and produce my own inventory. And I wanted the opportunity to do it with someone else, you know, and have more reach. And honestly, just voicing that is how it became a real conversation. We negotiated for a little bit, and then they gave me just total freedom to design whatever I wanted. And so I designed plates, all the textiles, aprons, and then curated glassware, flatware, and some other accessories. But it was a beautiful process. I mean, I drew all the flowers. I created all these marbled paper, which became the surfaces of the plates. I always wanted to own octagonal plates because I missed out on these set of 6 at a flea market in Connecticut, Elephant's Trunk. And I was like hesitated. And then when I came back, they were gone. And I'll never be able to find plates like that. So I'm like, my plates will be octagonal. Like those I missed out on.
The plates that got away.
Exactly. So no, the process has been great. And we shot the campaign in Colombia, in my family's mountain house. And it's just been such a joy to combine the book release with this collection.
How thrilling.
It's like now hosting more than ever.
Exactly. Yeah. On your book tour, you got to see some of our friends. You were in LA at Botanica. For folks who don't know, I mean, so many of us, even those of us who live in New York, love Botanica. And we were talking about how there really isn't anything like Botanica out here. How did you wind up there? And tell folks what it's like.
That's such a beautiful space in Silver Lake. And Heather, the chef, she's brilliant and such a visionary and understands food and ingredients in such a delicate way. So I had met her because I did a dinner with Goop when I launched Casa Velásquez. We hosted a dinner in Los Angeles. And Heather cooked and she made this fabulous meal. And then we've stayed friends ever since. So last Thursday, they have a series called Dinner With, where they celebrate a cookbook author and they pick dishes from the book and offer them as specials in the restaurant. So I was there. I invited 12 friends and we sat and ate the most delicious. She has, for instance, these Japanese sweet potatoes with salsa verde that are just, my mouth is watering just thinking about them. And then she made my asparagus with gribiche, the spring broth with peas, asparagus, and frego la sarda. Our cooking is very similar in some ways. So it's a great partnership. Yeah.
Did you get to go to any of the farmers markets out there?
I did. I went to the Silver Lake one. And it's small, but it has everything you need. And talk about the cherries. I bought $30 worth of cherries.
They had so many cherries. I didn't even know Silver Lake had a farmer's market, but I either go to Hollywood or Santa Monica. Let's talk about your kitchen for a sec. You mentioned tiny kitchen. How does a maximalist deal with a tiny kitchen?
Well, I curated very, very carefully what to bring with me to this new space, temporary and all. And that has been growing. I have so many more cookbooks. I brought with me 5 cookbooks.
What? That's it?
Yeah. When I packed and put everything in storage, I'm like, just 5 cookbooks, the ones that I want, company.
I'm going to have to give you a key to my apartment and my hundreds of cookbooks.
So now I have so many new ones, aside from the ones packed in storage. So this tiny kitchen, I just organize it really well and have tried to maintain it minimal, but I've failed profusely. I've been living there for 1 year and 5 months, and now it's like I don't know where to put things anymore.
I know, it's hard. Yeah. Do you put your pots and pans in the stove?
And in the oven, platters in the oven. Yeah, all of it.
It's the only option. Every time I need to make something and I have to take out every single pan from my oven. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. But I haven't figured out what the better way is yet.
Yeah, no, me either.
But that's life and it's fun. And at least we're lucky enough to get to cook beautiful food.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Summer plans. What are you up to this summer?
Summer plans. I'm going to Mexico City for 2 weeks. Part work, part book, part a little bit of a break. And then at the end of summer, I'll be going to Spain with friends. And then I'll go see Ana and Fernando, our friends from Poloski and Friends and Fevo Studio. They have a house in the country, so I'm going to go be with them. That's the plan.
How beautiful.
And then New York. There's nothing better than New York in the summer. I feel like walking up to Prospect Park, going to the farmers markets, being in the city when the weekends it's empty. It's so delicious.
Have you walked around and looked at all the flowers in our neighborhood?
I have. And I think of you. I'm like, But I don't know if you remember, we ran into each other on the sidewalk the day that I was moving in. And I was holding this pot, and it was the death of winter. It was January 2025. And I ran into you, and you were like, you're moving here? This is amazing. You'll see in spring the flowers in this neighborhood will be surreal. And I was like with tears, I was choking up. But you gave me the promise of spring. You just, without knowing, you were like, you'll see. Everything will be better soon. Without knowing anything. It's those messages that we get. So really special.
Oh, that means a lot.
I love our neighborhood.
Yeah. I love our neighborhood too. And the roses and the peonies are about to pop. And
can't wait.
The tulips haven't been blown to smithereens just yet by all this crazy wind we've been having. But we are blessed to live in this mini botanic garden that is Carroll Garden. We're going to run out of time. But one thing I want to talk about quickly is you never set out to be a food stylist.
No.
You are the celebrated food stylist today, but you had no idea that was a job or that was a skill of yours. And I think that's so inspiring. We just had Young Ha on, who's this celebrated interior designer. She went to law school, really wanted a creative life, but her parents, sort of heavily encouraged her to go down that path. And she just had absolutely no idea what she wanted to do and how to turn these creative desires into a profession. She was a mom. She had taken the bar, all these things. Had a conversation at a cocktail party with a stranger who turned out to be an interior designer, and that was her light bulb moment. As an adult.
Yeah. Wow. I think those conversations that change our lives, right? That one phrase that someone can say to help you see your destiny, just sort of transforming right in front of your eyes. When I was back in Colombia in high school, and I started to discover that being a chef was a career before chefs were celebrities in the way that we know them now. In 1999, Food Network wasn't a thing. Bogota didn't have very many restaurants back then. And this woman, her name is Maria Villegas. She is the daughter of a big publisher for art books in Colombia. She had been living in Australia, working for Donna Hay. And she came back and she published a beautiful book, very much in the style of that Australian food photography. And I was like, oh, that's who I want to be. That's what I want to do. My parents were like, wait, what? You want to go to cooking school and write books? They were like, well, no, Maria did that because her father owns his publisher. Like, he's a publisher. Like, this is a unique. I was not convinced. And so I always knew that I loved the aesthetic and the visual side of food. I didn't know how to get there at all. And so I went to cooking school. I cooked in restaurants first. Then I went to cooking school. And then I ended up in food magazines. I worked at Savour. And during the Coleman Andrews days, I worked at Eating Well. But when I came back to the city and worked at Savour for a commission project, I met Ruth Slazak, this great food photographer. And she mentioned, she's like, you have this finesse for styling. You should be a food stylist. And I was like, wow, I can't believe it. You can be a food stylist.
And it had never crossed your mind?
No, I didn't know it was a career. And she gave me one name, She Levine, who's no longer a food stylist. She has this beautiful wallpaper company called Trove. And I called her and she said, actually, I have a job in Pennsylvania. Tuesday, do you want to just come with me? And I went, I jumped in the car. Actually, because Savour had aprons in the kitchen, she said to me, bring an apron and a knife. And I didn't have an apron. So I think that's why I make aprons now.
Now you're the queen of the aprons.
Oh my God. I ran when Veselka was open 24 hours. You know, call time was like 5:30 a.m. I ran downstairs to Veselka at 4 and begged them to lend me an apron. And they're like, oh my God, you can have it. Just take it with you. So yeah, that was the beginning. And I learned so much from assisting brilliant food stylists who taught me and were so generous with their knowledge. And yeah, this is now what I do part of the time.
What is your advice to people who want a more creative life, maybe aren't happy doing the job that they're doing?
There's always a way. There's always a way to do something creative. And in the beginning, it may not pay, but just find the ways. You know, have the conversations, put yourself out there, take the risk. Because
don't wait for permission.
No. Everybody's living their own life. People have opinions, always, will always have. So do your own thing.
All right, let's do a speed round. What beverage do you start the day with?
Lemon water.
Lemon water. Oh, yeah. You're so good. What is your most used kitchen tool? Now that we know you have a very edited selection.
So recently I bought an axe. A vegetable axe in Hong Kong. I was there for a month residency in November and December. And I am fascinated.
Do you mean a cleaver?
Right, a cleaver.
What in the world?
An axe.
It's like, what
a cleaver, exactly.
What in the world is a vegetable axe? I was like, is this a new thing?
Oh my God, 27 years of English and I still...
Oh, I love it.
Say the most bizarre things. Yes,
I think you need to call Sur La Table right now and tell them you created a new category. The vegetable axe. Oh my God, I love it. All right. Are you a snacker? What's your favorite snack food?
I'm not much of a snacker. But I do love green olives, like something very salty. You know, green olives or nori sheets. That's pretty much it.
What was your favorite food as a kid?
Toast with butter and guava paste.
Yum. What's always in your fridge?
You know, lemons, naturally. Coffee, which I keep in the fridge so that it stays fresh. You know, yogurt. It varies.
Mm-hmm.
Ham, cheese. These days, I keep very little in my fridge and I just buy them when I'm cooking, right? Because I found with all the travel and everything, food would go bad. You know, it's just like, okay, no. Now the way I shop is I keep some essentials and then when I'm cooking, then that's when I shop.
Do you have a treasured cookbook? I know you've had to edit down your cookbook collection, but is there one that you look to for inspiration or you turn to a lot?
All About Braising by Molly Stevens. I met Molly when I was in cooking school when I was 22 in Vermont, and she was writing this book. And a teacher in school introduced me to her because she was looking for students to recipe test. I had that experience of cooking at her house on Saturdays, listening to La Traviata on NPR. She gave me Lillet for the first time to taste. And so it's a book that is written like literature. You know, I read through those recipes and it's like having Molly sitting there with me. So I go back to it a lot and it's one of the books that I brought with me to this space for now.
Oh, that's such a beautiful picture you painted for us. I'd love for you to write an essay about that one day.
Oh, I will.
That would be fun, maybe for Cherry Bomb. What are you streaming right now? Anything?
Oh my God.
You're so busy right now.
Well, I am busy, but I like to just like put myself to sleep watching something. Because funny enough, if I read, I stay awake because I want to keep reading. If I watch something, I actually can sort of wind down. I am watching Friends and Neighbors with John Hamm. It's very
relaxing.
sexy. It's relaxing.
I'm kidding.
It's so absurd.
It's not relaxing.
No, but it's just so delicious and easy. And yeah, that's what I'm streaming.
Okay. Dream travel destination?
Japan. I've never been, and I've been so close, but I've never been, and I'm dying to.
Okay, last question. If you had to be trapped on a desert island with one food celebrity, who would it be and why?
With one food celebrity.
You've answered this before.
I wonder. I mean, I think I would have said Anthony Bourdain, but I would say someone really nurturing, really like someone very, maybe Aina. I don't know.
Why did you say you would have said Anthony Bourdain and now you want someone nurturing?
Right, because I guess then I was more of a rebel, right? And now I think I need a little bit of more embrace. I don't know. I suppose, yeah.
Understandable. All right, Mariana, always a pleasure. Oh my gosh, I could talk to you for another 2 hours.
This is so fun. Thank you for having me.
Lovely to see you. And thank you for bringing something so beautiful and personal to Jubilee also.
Thank you so much.
Now, here's Mariana's talk from this year's Jubilee Conference at the Glass House in New York City.
When I was finishing my second cookbook, a book about gathering and revelry, my marriage imploded. 3 weeks before Christmas, I cut ties with the husband, partner, best friend for whom I had cooked thousands of meals. And I was left with an empty table that I did not recognize and a manuscript that no longer sang true. 86 recipes, 280 pages, and 7 days until my deadline. So I sat in my kitchen table with the printed pages, papers spilling where people used to sit, and tightly gripping a red pen. Each pronoun confronted me. Striking through our and mending it with my felt both numbing and nuclear. On the screen, I used Control F to find and delete his name 63 times. Wednesday dinner with him, never again. I changed it to Wednesday dinner, the introduction, and the chapter of his birthday menu. Together we had built a language through meals, inside jokes through playlists, and a sense of home that everyone who walked into our home felt. For months after the separation, the mere thought of turning on the stove was unthinkable. Opening the refrigerator made me lightheaded, and I had stopped trusting myself, both in life and in the kitchen. Then, on a brittle April morning, my French friend Anna called. She was in tears about not having plans for her birthday. I have nothing organized at all, and all I want is something with cream, she said. And I heard myself say, come over for dinner, I'll organize. My host's heart stronger than my broken one. I immediately regretted it. I did not have enough balls for 6. My refrigerator held only mustard, kimchi, and crusty jam from my other life. I didn't even have a ladle. I started to spiral, but instead I paused. And I asked myself why inviting friends over mattered to me in the first place. So much so that I had written a whole book about it. Hosting at its core had always been an intimate act of amplitude. Not to impress, not to perform, and especially not to prove. It was about gathering delicious food, dancing until dawn, and providing the right light for kissing. I had lost sight of the fact that it was okay to invite people into a space with enough matching plates, with a tiny oven and no serving platters. In a home that was wholly mine, love could still arrive in bread slathered in butter, anchovies and champagne, in acceptable takeout, in bites of decadent cake, in laughter that stretched late into the night. So I kept rewriting. I thought I was editing. And in fact, I was augmenting. And my voice shifted. No longer the plural we of marriage, but the singular I of a woman choosing to revel. The book I turned in was not the book I had set out to cook. It was tastier. And not because the pain had vanished, but because it shed the burden of perfection. Months earlier, I had used Control F to delete his name 63 times. What I didn't know then was that every deletion was also making space. Space for new dinners, for new stories, and the possibility of cooking for someone new. And realizing once again that when in doubt, red wine, red lips, and roasted chicken. Thank you.
That's it for today's show. Thank you to Mariana Velásquez for joining me in the studio and at Jubilee. Check out Cherry Bomb Substack for a recipe from Mariana's new book, Revel. If you missed the past episodes in our New Home miniseries with food media icon Donna Hay, Gia founder Melanie Masserin, or interior designer Young Ha, be sure to check them out. Thank you again, the Fisher and Paykel, for their support. Our theme song is by the band Tra La La. Special thanks to City Vox Studio in Manhattan. Our producers are Catherine Baker and Jenna Sadu. Our executive assistant is Bridget Pittman. And our head of partnerships is Rachel Close. Thanks for listening, everybody. You're the bomb.